The lobby smells like lemon polish and money. Your visitor badge sits heavy on your lapel as you ride a silent elevator past floors you don't have clearance for. Screens bloom with red and green numbers like heart monitors. Someone in a tailored suit calls you Captain, like it's a password. This is your life, level by level, inside military power embedded on Wall Street. Risk Liaison, where patriotic duties meet financial intrigue. Your desk is a hot seat in a glass conference room off Broad Street. No windows that open, one landline, two encrypted apps you're told not to mention out loud. Every morning starts with a market wrap from the bank and a classified brief in a borrowed office at 26 Federal Plaza. You drink burnt coffee, track treasury yields, and flag odd wire patterns minus $9,900 deposits. Shell LLCs registered in Delaware, a sudden appetite for shipping insurance. You tell yourself it's just compliance. You tell yourself you're protecting ports, pipelines, bases. You tell yourself the screens don't lie. Then you watch the same alert get reclassified after a call you're not invited to. Your report comes back with softer verbs. May indicate becomes unlikely to suggest. Your power is access meeting invites, a seat near the end of the table, a direct line to a liaison at FinCEN. Your burden is precision. Miss one pattern and a senator asks why. Catch the right one and someone's bonus evaporates. You learn fast. On Wall Street, risk isn't removed, it's renamed. Asset Integrator, blurring lines between ally and asset. Now you have a permanent badge and a clean suit hanging in your office, 2 sizes too expensive for government pay. You sit in strategic allocation meetings where the coffee is single origin and the language is coded stability, exposure, national interest. Your calendar fills with closed-door calls. A defense attaché dialing in from Frankfurt. A portfolio manager asking about the Gulf. An analyst sliding you a printout marked internal only. You tell yourself it's coordination. You tell yourself the bank wants to help. You tell yourself you're only sharing what's cleared. Then you start placing nudges. A quiet warning shifts a position out of a region 2 days before a headline. A suggestion changes which contractor gets invited to a financing round. You don't order it, you just make it easy. The power is proximity, more rooms, more names, more unspoken trust. The cost is isolation. You can't explain your day to anyone without turning it into a lie, so you stop trying. You realize the line between ally and asset isn't drawn, it's negotiated, one favor at a time. Financial Operations Commander, where influence turns to quiet control. You work from a secure suite with a white noise generator hissing like rain. 3 monitors, market depth, newswire, and a classified dashboard with time-stamped effects, targets. Your phone doesn't ring, it vibrates. You take briefings from people who never say their agency and never repeat themselves. At lunch, you walk past the NYSE, not because you need to, but because seeing the building keeps you calibrated. You tell yourself it's deterrence. You tell yourself it's cheaper than missiles. You tell yourself the economy is a battlefield already. Then you start orchestrating. A coordinated rumor placed through research. A liquidity pulled timed to a vote. A trade flow encouraged through a friendly fund so a rival's currency looks weaker for 48 hours, long enough for a negotiation to bend. Your power is command. You can synchronize bankers, analysts, and quiet government desks like units on a map. Your burden is second-order effects. A pension fund takes the hit. A factory loses a credit line. The numbers don't scream, but people do somewhere far from the screen. You don't fire shots here, you move pressure, and it finds flesh anyway. You've learned to read the screens like terrain and use meetings like maneuvers. Next, the job stops being operations and becomes strategy, where loyalty isn't requested. It's engineered. Strategic Influence Director, where you shape narratives, not trades. The office is quieter now. Fewer screens, thicker walls, a small conference table with a speakerphone that never shows caller ID. Your day is a sequence of short meetings. The bank's head of public affairs, an outside law firm in Midtown, a think tank director with a donor list you're not supposed to see. You keep a notebook with 3 columns: pressure, permission, plausible. The markets still move, but you watch people move first. You tell yourself it's alignment. You tell yourself it's stability. You tell yourself it's protecting the system from panic. Then you start building the weather. A memo becomes a talking point. A talking point becomes an expert consensus. A single phrase, orderly transition, temporary measure, contained exposure, lands in 3 outlets by noon, and by closing bell everyone acts like they thought of it first. Your power is narrative tempo. You don't predict reactions, you schedule them. Your burden is attribution. Every influence line needs a cutout. Every cutout needs a reason. Every reason needs paperwork that will survive a subpoena. You stop moving money and start moving minds, and that's the leverage that never shows on a balance sheet. Shadow Commander. Where you command without a flag. Your badge doesn't scan at most doors anymore. Someone else swipes you in, and nobody writes your name on the visitor log. You keep 2 phones in separate pockets and never charge them at the same outlet. The only regular sound is the HVAC and the soft rasp of documents sliding across a table, term sheets, travel manifests, internal audit notes, a map of undersea cable routes with certain landing points circled in red. You tell yourself it's oversight. You tell yourself it's containment. You tell yourself it's the last layer between crisis and normal life. Then you start deciding who gets to act at all. A desk loses leverage because you raise concerns. A regulator delays a letter because you suggest sequencing. A rival fund's prime brokerage line tightens after a quiet call to risk that no one will admit happened. Your power is veto. You don't give orders, you remove options until the choice becomes obvious. Your burden is permanence. Every favor becomes a handle, every handle becomes a file, and every file becomes a key that can fit your lock. At this level, you aren't a rank, you're a shadow cast by other people's fear. In the end, the uniform is just a way to make decisions feel clean. The lobby still smells like lemon polish and money, and the elevator still rises without sound. You carry maps in your head of networks, of loyalties, of pressure points, and none of them fold back into a pocket. The higher you climb, the quieter it gets, until silence is the only witness you trust.